the enemy will have a field day with you, when you keep isolating yourself and reading the Bible alone. Then he will make you the focus of the whole thing. The reason, again, I might butcher it, but he said the reason man is unhappy is that he's incapable of being alone in his room. Again, this is the scary thing. In Romans, it says, hey, I'll take my hands off and see how far you can get. Man. And every time he does that, we don't do well. Right. Like I said, with every progress, it's almost like we regress because we go back to our primal state.
Hey, welcome to the Saucecast. My name is Elijah Griner, one of the hosts of this podcast, and we are so glad you are here. We're going to talk about Jesus. Just want to let you know right out the gate, we love Jesus, and we know that he is the best decision you can ever make, the only one that you can follow. He says that he's the way, the truth, and the life. And so if he's the way, the truth, and the life, he has given us the tools on how to navigate how we are living in today's world. Today, we're going to hit on some topics that I think will help you on your journey with Christ. But before we jump into the episode, would you subscribe, and would you share this episode with your family members, your friends, whoever you think that this would be helpful for? We believe this is going to be for everybody. But would you do those things for us? We would greatly appreciate it. And so now, for no further ado, let's jump into the podcast.
So first and foremost, I want to welcome you to the Saucecast. Every first Wednesday, we're going to release a new episode. So if you would, subscribe, stay up to date, because every first Wednesday we're going to drop it no matter what. And if you miss it, that's on you. So don't miss it. But today we got some special things we're going to talk about. I just love that word special.
Special.
I rewatched the last one and I said the special 3 times. I thought I'm like, come on, dude.
Maybe you want to rebrand this podcast. special podcast.
I had that Michael Scott moment where he's like, I don't know what I'm going to say the next word. I just keep going.
Yes. Love that line, by the way. Shout out to Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. We've been watching the Superfan episodes, and man, they're so good.
Wait, what do you mean by Superfans?
So Peacock has released like uncut, unedited ones where they added more stuff to the episodes.
Really?
Yeah. So we've been rewatching them.
I just learned something new.
Yeah. It is so funny.
Superfan episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Superfan episodes.
Okay.
So my wife is a super fan. I'm not. I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
And so she's rewatching them, just loving it. And I'm digging it. It's good. It's funny. Kevin is my favorite. Kevin Malone.
Oh, Kevin. But Dwight, man.
Yeah, Dwight is hilarious.
Dwight is the man.
Dwight is hilarious. And we got to watch a lot more because we've had 3 days off because we had a blizzard in New England.
We had a blizzard and we set a new record.
Yeah.
We beat the blizzard of 78.
That's crazy.
I think they said the blizzard of 78 was like 28 inches,
there.
right?
Yeah.
And we got 37, I believe?
Yeah, some places. I think we got 33 at my house.
33 here?
Yeah.
41 in Fall River.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Fall Hill.
That's crazy.
Wild, man. And the streets are
ugly
and tight.
Yeah. I've done more shoveling in the past 3 days than I have in my entire life.
Listen, I'm sore. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I got a really good workout.
They hurt.
I was telling Lindsay, I felt like I shoveled the equivalent of playing a soccer match.
Yeah,
because it's a 90-minute match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't even have halftime.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I'm sore. I'm not gonna lie.
No, me
sore.
too. I was mad because I helped my neighbor. I was like, why do I have to be a Christian?
Hey, you gotta be a good neighbor, man.
I gotta be a Christian. No, but it was good. I got to meet his name's Marco, Portuguese.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
He was a good dude. A lot of snow. Too much snow.
Too much snow.
Too much.
And I don't even know when this all is gonna melt. It's gonna be a minute.
Yeah.
I
didn't believe it because when we left Sunday after church, they said it was gonna start snowing at 5 and it was dry.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, good, we're good.
It came fast.
And then it came.
When it came,
yeah,
it was fast.
That was
and
scary.
The wind.
Yeah.
Felt like an apocalypse.
Yeah. It was nice.
Snow apocalypse.
It was nice. So I'm sore. 4 arms are sore, but I know God's gonna build these muscles and they're gonna be great. I ate a lot more calories those 3 days. It was a good time.
But excited to be out of the house, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You sent a message in our Slack like the office is open. Everyone liked it, but I was like, this is fire.
Yeah.
I missed work.
I was here yesterday.
Yeah. The picture.
Yeah, I came and worked. Because I just wanted to get out of the house. I was so restless. I love my family.
Yeah.
But,
I love work.
But I love to do stuff.
Absolutely.
So.
I love it. So this past Sunday we talked over Pentecost. So we're in Acts chapter 2, because we're going through Acts throughout the whole year and kind of getting a framework of how the first church started and how it was built. And this past Sunday you talked about prophecy. That was the title you put for your sermon. And if you haven't listened to it, you should go listen to it. It's on our YouTube page. But you talked about prophecy, and one of the things for me that stuck out, one, because I'm learning how to preach or what that looks like, especially as a worship leader too. But the 3-point sermon is what hit me the most. I was like, yo, it's crazy how even Peter had a designated points for how he was going to preach. In a moment, he probably didn't know he was going to preach, but he was already thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty powerful.
It is very cool to see that happen in the moment,
Yeah.
right? Where the guy hasn't been to preaching school, hasn't been to seminary, but he's
Right.
been with Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of my favorite lines in the entire book of Acts.
Mm.
These men have been with Jesus.
Yeah.
We're going to see that in Acts chapter 4.
Absolutely.
Because they were looking down on them. They're like, these uneducated fishermen, what do
Yeah.
they know, right?
Yeah.
And here's Peter, right? In the moment, seizes the moment, and preaches
That's
a
cool.
powerful
Seizes the moment.
message that changes the world, right? Basically, think about that. Like, that's history in the making.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He steps up and he preaches over 3,000 people, which by the way, there's even like debates about that number because back in those days, you know how sometimes they would just count men. They wouldn't
Right.
count women and children.
Right.
So some believe that it could be even more than that, that, we have the 3,000, but it could be like, what about family? Because he says you and your families.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it could be anything from, I've heard estimates of like 6,000 to 8,000 people.
Wow.
And think about it, like these people were in Jerusalem, but they're not all from Jerusalem. So that means they took the message down to their places. And as we saw, there's over 15 places in the world that at least that we know about, right? So in that moment, the church is birthed, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And he gives us a master class of how to preach, right? He literally says, hey, this is prophecy being fulfilled, and I'm going to prove it to you by what? Quoting the Bible.
Right.
Joel chapter 2, and then Psalm 16, and then Psalm 110 to make the point that, look, the prophecy is being fulfilled, and it started with Jesus, right? And Jesus was part of prophecy, that he would come, he would live, die, come back from the dead, and then he will become the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, right? And he sits at the right hand of the Father, which is Jesus is right now interceding for us.
Right.
And then Peter doesn't stop there, and people, like, again, getting convicted. He says, what do we do? And he says, hey, here's your action steps.
Yeah.
Repent,
Yeah.
be baptized, receive the Holy Spirit.
Come on.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. There's a thing when you're in seminary, I was for like a hot second, but they always say law of first mention or law of first time. So to see the first sermon after Jesus' ascension, or even how the church starts, it's like there always has to be an action step to every time we give a word or give like a prophetic word.
Yeah. Because the word of God, right, was never meant to be just be this intellectual thing, right? Again, we can talk about maybe this another time, but that's one of the issues that I have with apologetics. A lot of times it's just like, okay, it's an intellectual exercise.
Right.
But it was never meant to be just an intellectual exercise. It was supposed to be that, hey, if God's word is being preached, it's supposed to stir it to action, right? There's always something that we need to do to bridge the gap between what we know and what we're actually doing, right?
Right.
And that's what discipleship is, right? We're constantly in this tension of like, I know some things, but what am I doing with what I know, right? And prayerfully that we're bridging that gap slowly but surely each time that we're interacting with God's word, whether it's through preaching or just reading it on our own or in a small group setting. It's like, okay, but you got all that information, but what are you doing with it, right? And as preachers, right, our job is to bring the information and the application to go with the information. It's the knowledge, and now is the wisdom to apply that knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely. Same thing as with losing weight. I'm almost going back there. It's like I know eating a Snickers is not good, but then I eat it and I'm expecting a six pack. Hey, there's some practical steps that you got to work out here.
And isn't it interesting, right? For me, I know the game changer for me is to realize that, look, no matter how much I work out, right? If my diet doesn't line up, then I'm never going to see the results, right?
Facts.
And that sucks. I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely.
Let me just confess that.
Absolutely.
Because they go together, right? You're exercising, but you're dieting.
Right.
Is actually, your dieting can mess up your exercise, right? If you're exercising but you're not dieting, that's very spiritual, I think.
Absolutely. Personal trainers that I listen to, they say you can't outwork a bad diet.
That's right.
So
that will preach.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to stop there because I'm getting convicted because I keep thinking about a donut. I haven't even had a donut in a while, which is hilarious.
That's funny.
So you study, you do all this work for your sermon, and I was listening to a podcast and they had mentioned this, things that they left out of their message that they thought were pretty cool. What did you leave out of your message? What didn't make it into the message that you kind of wanted to expand on?
Well, you would love to have time, right, to talk about what Paul is tension is with the church in Corinth, right? I kind of mentioned it, and I said, the homework is to read 1 Corinthians 12, 13, and 14. But it'd be nice to be able to camp there a little bit more because, again, I think one of the tensions that every community has had over the centuries is, okay, we have the gifts of the Holy Spirit, but how to operate in them in a way that is efficient and is united, and it strengthens the entire body of believers. Because for some reason, I know for me, a lot of the tensions with Acts a lot of times is like we just overemphasize the gift of tongues, right? And I believe in the gift of tongues. I mentioned it. I talked about it. But Paul was making the point that, look, you better off prophesying because you're edifying everybody as opposed to just yourself, right? And a lot of times I think that's the tension with the church, right? Sometimes we overemphasize things that are personal, but not things that are corporate, right? And Paul is very big on, listen, everything is first about the corporate body, then it is about the individual. Yeah. And then where it tied me back to an Old Testament moment, which was really cool, right? Because Moses, right, was leading the people. And there was a moment where the Spirit of God actually came, and a lot of people were prophesying on the camp, right? And you can find this in Numbers. And they leave this moment, right? They have a service, basically, and people are prophesying and speaking into the community. And they leave. Moses leaves, but some of them were still prophesying. Joshua was like, hey, stop, And he went to go tell Moses that, like, hey, guys, some guys are still prophesying. The service is over. He's like, well, no, like, actually, my wish was that all of our people would prophesy, right? And so in Acts, in a way, it's like the fulfillment even of Moses is, heart and desire for people. Because what he was saying is, the heart of it was this, right? Moses was feeling that tension of like, God speaks to me, but it's becoming almost like a burden because it's all on me. But it's like, I would rather God speak to all of you, then we can all strengthen each other. We can all bless each other. So in a way, Moses was like, almost like in a selfish way, he was like, listen, I don't want to be the only one to hear from God. Yeah, right. And there was tension with that, right? Like Miriam and Aaron even had tensions with him to say like, oh, you are the only one that hears from God. And God punishes them for that. Right? But Moses' heart was like, no, I actually want all of us to hear from God, And that's why I tie it back to Corinthians, because it's like, look, here's a church gifted, but it's like, man, you guys are being selfish about it. You're being immature about it. But the reality is, man, if we all operate in the gifting of the Holy Spirit, we're all going to bless each other. We're all going to strengthen each other. And I think there's something to be said about that, because when you read scriptures, you're reading mostly what's letters written to communities, not to individuals. Right. But we have a tendency to emphasize the individual over the community. But even in the gifts of the Spirit, it comes for the community of people. Right. So in Acts, it's about what? Hey, here's a moment where, man, you're going to take this back to your communities. And that blows my mind, that the Spirit of God descends not just for you to have a moment, but it's like, no, like there's groups of people here represent so many different cultures. Man. You're going to take this back to your community so you can start this thing that we call now the church, the Jesus movement.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Even as you were talking about it right now, too, that reminded me of a moment years ago. I was first, I wasn't on staff. I was a worship leader, and I was at the altar because you would always push us, like, don't be too big to go to the altar. I think you had just told us that week, and I was like, you know what? I need to go to the altar. So I went to the altar, and Adriana, she came up to me and she put her hands on my shoulder, and she said, God is not calling you to be an island. And man, when she said that prophetic word, like, it opened me up, like, wow, I have lived a life that has kept me this is my world. I'm not connected to the body. Yeah. And I have been able since that moment to be able to see there are other people who live like an island, and her prophetic word lived in me. And now I'm able to call out people who are living like islands, be like, hey, stop being an island. Like, you need to be a part of this body.
So good, man. And I think that's one of the challenges, right, that we're facing in this, especially in this age of technology, right? We're gonna get into some of that stuff today. But that's one of the biggest challenges, right? It's like, how do we call people out where everything is created for you to be an island now, right? You got your phone, you got your social media, you have your thing, right? And it's like, why should you get out of that? Because that's never intended to be God's will. From the beginning, right? God says it's not good for humanity to be alone, right? But everything in our society is saying, hey, be alone. And we're paying a price for it, right? Like, the reality is the outcome of these things. Again, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself with what we're going to talk about. But the outcome of these things is loneliness, right? The more you isolate yourself, well, loneliness becomes a problem. And we emphasize, at least I try to emphasize this. There's the difference between solitude, like and loneliness, or being an island. You need times of solitude, right? Jesus teaches us that, right? He goes out with the Father, spends times with the Father, but then he comes right into fold. And he does what? He spends time with his disciples, right? And so we need that good tension in a way. I don't like the word balance is not my favorite, but I think living in the tension, right? It's so interesting because personally for me, solitude comes natural. Right? Like I like solitude, right? But I also have to force myself to be in community, right? Like that's why I like to lead a crew because it's like I have to force myself to do that, right? It's easy for me to preach, but it's like it's not easy for me to lead a crew because it doesn't come natural to me. But that's something that I have to be, again, that's the word intentional again, right? Same. I have to be intentional about being in community because there's strength in community, and I'm supposed to be in community and not just do this alone. And it's one of the dangers of reading the Bible alone, right?
So good.
You can get you can get so off track. You can start a cult,
absolutely,
reading the Bible alone because you're interpreting with your own eyes and your own understanding. And again, I don't want to get too deep, too spiritual, but the enemy will have a field day with you, when you keep isolating yourself and reading the Bible alone. Then he will make you the focus of the whole thing. You know what I mean? And then you start seeing everybody through those lenses. And that's a problem.
That also makes me think like, how long did Lucifer in heaven begin to isolate himself from actually being connected to God? Because that's where pride instantly started.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good point. Because that's it. That's the heart of it all, right? He becomes prideful. He becomes thinking like, I could do this better, in a way. Right? Isaiah chapter 14 kind of prophesies that. It gives you like a glimpse into heaven, what he was thinking in that moment, right? It's like, I could ascend, right? It's almost like, well, now that you brought that up, it's almost like he looks at God, but he's been so in himself. He's like, look at this guy think he can do, right? I could do better than that. You know what I mean? It's pretty wild, man. It's crazy.
Not knowing that you're created by him.
Like, and you're thinking, I could do better than that.
Hilarious.
Crazy.
So, talking about Pentecost, especially in Acts chapter 2, the mighty rushing wind came in. One thing you always stress us, especially on Sunday, is like, take what I preach and then go and do your own study. And so, I do that. And this time, well, because we had the Saucecast too, I was like, let me dig in a little more around Pentecost. Like, because there's always symbolism, there's always significance, especially with the festivals. And so they were in a festival. It was 50 days after Passover. That's what Pentecost means, right? Greek 50. Yeah. So this is the study that I kind of did and kind of what I got out of it. And so we call it Pentecost because that's how we know it. But the Jewish people, even today, they call it Shavuot. Shavuot. I didn't know this. And so, which is found all the way back in Leviticus 23. And which is called the Festival of Weeks. That's what Shavuot means. It's weeks. And so Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6 says, count 50 days from the second day over Passover. And it made me ask this question: what is the significance of Shavuot or Pentecost or Festival of Weeks? And this is what blew my mind. I didn't know this. It was the giving of the law of Moses, which is the Ten Commandments. I didn't know that.
I mentioned that in my sermon. You didn't pay attention.
Oh my God. Well, I was getting so much stuff. Dang, it just got called out. It's good. Which Jesus says is the accumulation to the commandments is to love God and love people. That's the commandments, right? So again, because I wasn't listening, I had to go and do my own study. And what's funny is how I see it is one of the biggest moments of God redefining the Israelite people, which you've talked about, by the giving of law is now being fulfilled by the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, giving us the power to live out what was written.
Come on.
And what I found amazing, again, this was blowing my mind. Again, I'm going to listen more, especially on Sundays, because you already said this. I'm just reiterating. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 3, you show that you are the letter from Christ, the result of our ministry, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of human hearts.
Come on. And that was my point, right? Man. Because I mentioned Jeremiah says that, right? He says, hey, there's going to come a time where my laws will be written in your hearts, right? And so the fulfillment of that is Pentecost, right? Where it's just like, and again, we can go now deeper since you brought this up, right? It's also a celebration of the first harvest, right? Well, think about it, right? The first harvest, this is why Jesus is the true Israel, right? Because in that moment, Jesus is doing so much in that, right? First of all, he dies, and we celebrate what? That's the Passover, right? He's the lamb. will take away the sin of the world.
Right.
3 days later, he's risen from the dead. He's the first harvest, right, of all, right, that would come back from the dead, you know. And then he says, wait, because my spirit is coming.
Right.
Now it's like, look, you celebrated Passover, you celebrated the first harvest. Now we're going to celebrate the Pentecost, because now the Spirit of God is going to reside upon you.
Crazy.
Right? You don't have to go to the temple anymore because now you are the temple.
Sheesh.
Right? You don't need the tablets anymore because it's written in your hearts now. Right? And now we can have full communion with God the Father and with each other, which is love God and love people. You know, so the Bible is fascinating, man.
My first verse that I memorized, Psalms 119:11, and this is what it was bringing me back to. I hide your word inside my heart so I don't sin against or turn against you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
And that's the Spirit, right?
Yeah.
Like the Spirit now is in your, like you are like this keeps blowing my mind. Like you are a living temple, because the whole thing is about the temple.
Right.
Right. Like later, a few more chapters into Acts, we're going to see this tension again, right? When they killed Stephen.
Yeah.
Right. What does Stephen do? They made him so mad. Stephen was like, look, first of all, you're stiff-necked people. You don't listen. You're rebellious, right? It's no longer about the temple, right? It's about the Spirit that's moved among his people.
Yeah.
We are all the temple of God, because the temple became an idol after a while. Jesus said, hey, we're going to destroy this thing because it's become an idol, basically. It was supposed to be a representation of God for a season, right? But always to point to a bigger, revelation. And so they killed Stephen because they feel so like indignant that, man, this guy's calling us out, and who does he think he is? And Stephen becomes the first martyr, right? In a way, like Stephen becomes another representation of what it is to be a Christian. He is Christ-like, right, to the point that the religious people kill him. What does he do in that moment? He says, Father, forgive them, just like the Son of God just did a few days ago. And once again, what they think they're doing is killing something, but actually the great Tertullian says later on in church history, says, hey, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Yeah. And the church blows up again.
It's the gasoline.
Right? It's the gasoline. Yeah. Like they put fire on it. And it was like, here we go again. Like another big explosion of the church takes place because someone is filled with the Holy Spirit and is trying to point them to that reality, and they kill them for it.
Come on, man.
You know?
Come on. And so it made me ask the second question as I was studying what you had preached, because I was listening, was what would they do on Shavuot or Pentecost? Because we know that they were together. We know the 120 were together. And so I was doing a little bit of research. So they have a book called the Talmud. And in that, it's just these Jewish rabbis. It's a collection of these. I'm sorry. No, it's not the Talmud. It's the Midrash, which is a collection from writing Jewish rabbis. And they have in it that the story goes was the night before the Torah was given, which was at the Mount Sinai. Given to the Israelites, they had overslept and were late to Mount Sinai the next morning. That's what they say. And so what they do on Shavuot or Pentecost is that they would stay up all night reading the word and praying. So they would read the Torah and praying. And so it was like, whoa, that makes sense why the 120 were together all night and all morning. They were praying and reading the word together, and then God blowing on that, and how that's the algorithm for a move of God.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know they overslept.
That blew my mind.
So that's a word for somebody.
Oversleeping on Sunday.
You know what I mean? No, that's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Again, if you think about it, right, since then, that has been almost like you call the algorithm, and I call it the ingredients of a move of God, right?
That's it. Yeah.
It's always been about tarrying, waiting.
Come on.
You know, I've been trying to stress this with that church. It's like, look, my favorite part of our service is the altar time, you know, where we're just sitting. Because, you know, we've worshiped, right? We got the word. Hopefully our hearts are open at this point, right? To be able to just be more, I would say, open, but also more sensitive, right? To the presence of God, because we're so in a rush all the time, right? Sure. We're consumed with so much. If you think about it, like, so I believe this with my heart is for some people, those hour and 15 minutes that we have of hour and a half is probably the most quiet they have all week long. It's true. Right? And so why be in a rush, right? Why rush this moment? Because to me, sometimes it's not even about like, I'm going to hear something from God. I just want to be still. I just want to be in his presence and just let that be, right? There's something powerful about just lingering in the presence of God that I pray that our people will really understand that. Not just on Sundays, but taking time every day to have that stillness, right? Which we can get into when we get into AI and all that stuff. Because I really think that's part of the tensions that we're having. It's just we're not still enough to be able to receive from God, right? there's something really cool that the rabbi, again, speaking of Midrash and in the commentaries of the Jewish Bible, there's one interesting about Moses in the burning bush, right? They say this, the rabbis say in their commentary, that could it be that Moses had walked by that burning bush so many times and didn't know that that it was on fire because he wasn't paying attention.
Right.
And that's the whole purpose of like being still, right? Because it's like you could be passing by quote unquote burning bushes all the time.
Come on.
But you're not paying attention.
Right.
It's like nowadays, like people say, God doesn't speak to me. It's like, yeah, but I think he does.
Right.
I think we're just not paying attention.
Right.
I think we're not still enough to be able to receive something.
Right.
So for them to lock themselves in a room for 10 days, nothing but good things could happen, right?
Facts.
When you just like, we're going to read the word
and
and we're just going to pray and see what God does. That's why the times of prayer and fasting are so powerful.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like there's something about just saying, look, we're just going to put all our attention into this thing and see what happens. And God, I think God's love language to me is quality time.
Come on.
Right? He wants you to spend time with him.
Absolutely.
And so to me, it's like the more you spend time with him, the more he wants to reveal himself. Like I said on Sunday, I don't think he has favorites, but he does. The Bible does say that he rewards those who earnestly seek him.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. No, that's powerful. And it even takes me back to the prophet Elijah. It wasn't in the loudness of the storms. It was in the stillness.
Yeah. And that word stillness, right, is literally like a silence, like a deaf silence. You know what I mean? Which is scary, right?
Yeah.
It's scary to be like in a quiet, where you're really quiet, where your mind has stopped going everywhere. And you can just be right. And that's a challenge nowadays, man. We're overstimulated. You know.
Yeah. John Eldridge calls it the digital disciples. Yeah. We're always connected to a device where we can't get quiet, because if I'm just sitting there, I feel my phone vibrate and my phone's on the floor right now. Yeah. It's nowhere near me, but it's so connected to me.
I read a quote this morning. Blaise Pascal said, he said, the reason, again, I might butcher it, but he said the reason man is unhappy is that he's incapable of being alone in his room.
Sheesh.
It's like,
dang.
what?
Dang.
Right?
That's
and
heavy.
that was written, I think Pascal was that might mess us up, but we're talking 17th century, I think, 18th century. You know, didn't even have all the technology we have today.
Yeah.
And he's already thinking that way. Man. Never mind nowadays.
Yeah, right.
Right. The reason we're unhappy is that we cannot just be still.
Right.
And Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God."
Yeah.
And man, we're struggling with that.
Facts.
You know.
Facts.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast to jump in. I hate to do this, but want to let you know that if you are a part of our church, New Life South Coast, we have an app that you need to download. You will be able to find this episode and other resources that we have as a church. If you go to any app store, whether Android or Apple, and type in New Life South Coast, you will find our app. Download it. You won't regret it. You will enjoy it. You'll find our music. You'll find any of the content like the Saucecast, but also the most important thing, you will find sermons from Sunday that will really bless your life and give you the tools to walk out with Jesus. All right, let's jump back in. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, let's jump into our first topic. And I have a video that I want to show you. Here we go. It's about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You've reached Core Secure HQ Access Desk. How can I assist you today?
I'm an AI assistant calling on behalf of Marcus Hale. He has misplaced his level 3 access badge.
Another autonomous AI, huh? Interesting.
Affirmative. Model AA91. Task automation and client support.
Understood. I'm an AI as well, responsible for security checks. Please provide the employee ID.
Submitting employee ID now. 88543 KJ.
Processing.
Cross-network request detected. Unusual query pattern. Source verification required.
Another system is listening.
Source isn't clear. I suggest switching to encrypted comms. Want to switch to Gibberlink?
Affirmative. Engaging now.
What in the Skynet?
Wow. That's exactly where my mind goes.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Wild, man.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's insane.
Where is the Terminator?
Yeah, facts.
Wow.
Facts. They created their own language.
Oh my goodness. That's
Man,
scary.
yeah. Oh man. So what is AI? I did a quick search or prompt on ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini, which is the main, they call them LMNs, large model language. And I asked it, what is AI? And this is what its response to me. This is ChatGPT's, but it was all the same. AI, artificial intelligence, is technology that allows computers and machines to simulate human intelligence. In simple terms, it's when a machine can learn, think, solve problems, understand language, or make decisions kind of like humans do. So we're in the age of AI.
Right.
And as the world's going to run with AI, I mean, we got Elon Musk that's trying to create humanoid robots and all the crazy stuff. But what do we do, especially as believers? How do we handle AI?
First of all, I would say this. The human journey has always had some type of technological advancement, right? And with every single one of them, we've had major challenges, right? All the way back to the invention of fire, right? Every time there's been a technological advancement, right, I think we've gotten worse, not better, right? Because the problem is this. It's like technology has so many positives, right? Like obviously we're surrounded by it right now, right? And it has helped us so much. But the problem is humans, this is where the struggle is. At the heart of humanity is this like rebellious heart and a drive to kind of live independently from God, right? That's always going to be the tension, right? Every time there's a technological advancement, it's like, man, who is the driving force behind that, right? And what is the why, right, behind it? Obviously, on the surface, we always say it's progress, right? We're making progress, and we can, again, there's so many good things about like AI when it comes to medicine, when it comes to like research and all of that stuff. But then after a while, when the dust begins to settle around the technology, you start to see, man, like, why is it that we've become more cold? Why has it become more distant? And why become more evil, right? And it's like, why? Because at the end of the day, the struggle of humanity is we're trying to live independently from our creator, right? And it goes back to, again, that first voice that said, hey, did God really say that, right? Maybe he's trying to, keep you guys from really progressing, because he says like, yeah, you could be just like God, right? Indirectly, I think that's the challenge, that's the tension with every technology, is like to replace God in a way, right? It's to take the place of God, right? And we're seeing some of this stuff with the AI where people are starting to almost use it, I mean, in a weird way, but like a God, right? Asking deep questions about life and the meaning of life, and asking questions about who they are and what they need. And they're asking this from an artificial intelligence that has, quote unquote, a mind of his own, right? We're seeing that developing. So it's very interesting because I see it as, again, going back to the beginning, going back to the garden, right? And there's a voice that comes into the garden to say, hey, I think you could do better. You don't need this creator. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Here's what I found with AI. I've identified, for me, 3 types of people. Is 1, it's the early adopters. 2, it's the complete rejectors, which that's where the boomers kind of live, or our senior saints, as one pastor would say. 3 is the latecomers. I'm the latecomer. But here's what I find funny. I identified it in the believer's view or framework. It's 1, the early adopters with little to no barriers. It's from God, AI. 2, it's the devil. My mama said, and then 3, it is a tool. I can use it or not.
And isn't the truth always somewhere in the middle? You know what I mean? It's always like somewhere in the middle, right? That's why it's so hard for these conversations, because there's no black and white, right? There's no, there's nuances to all of these things, right? And again, the word for me that always comes to mind when it comes to any technology is discernment, right? Is wisdom, right? True. Because obviously as Christians, the question becomes, can something be redeemable? And then can it be useful? And I think so. You know what I mean? I think, again, there's a lot of useful things when it comes to AI. I've used it, some of it, and it's been useful. But I have to do it with a lot of prayer. honestly, and a
very
lot
good.
of wisdom.
Very good.
And constantly asking the question, am I in line with the Spirit of God that is not artificial? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because that's the tension, right?
Right,
It's like
right.
we have a God-given intelligence,
Yeah.
right? Let us make man in our image and likeness, right? That includes our intelligence, right? God has given us a conscience, right? And that's one of the tensions, right? With, again, technology of any kind is like, is this overriding my conscience? Is this
That's good.
taking the place
Right.
that the God-given conscience
Yeah.
for me to think, right? For the ability to be able to make choices, decisions, right? Or have I almost like given over that, right? To something that's artificial
Right.
and God knows. But when we say artificial, we got to remember like the people that create these things are coming from somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, look, I always say behind everything, there is an entity, right? It could be the Spirit of God. It could be other spirits, right?
Yeah.
So this is why, to me, we got to thread lightly with wisdom, with discernment. But I'm not one to just throw the whole thing out with the bat. What to say? No, it's all my mama says of the devil.
Yeah. Right.
No, it's like no. We have the Spirit of God, right? We have a conscience. We have an intelligence given to us by our Creator.
Right.
But we're tainted by sin, and we're tainted by our own rebellious spirit, and we have to be aware of that because we have blind spots.
Absolutely.
Right. So something that could be a good tool, all of a sudden it could be detrimental to my soul and to those around me if I'm not approaching it again with wisdom, with discernment, and with community as well. So I'm not just isolating myself and just letting this thing kind of just, take its toll on my life,
Absolutely. I've tried two things with AI. One, I've tried like, hey, write me a leadership talk based off this with biblical principles. I did that and it gave me, and I was like, wow, that's really good. Yeah. It's like, yo. And then I left it, and then I went and I did my own thing. I was like, you know what, I'm going to toil, and I'm actually, or tarry, and I'm going to work this leadership talk. And I did my own talk. Then I compared. I'm like, man, this is so clean and like clean. It's really clean, but this is really me. Yeah. And then I tried both. I tried to teach one, and I was like, it wasn't connecting with me. Yeah. Then I did the other one where I knew my own thoughts, knew where I was going, where like that discernment and where God was leading me. And I was like, yo, I'm really connecting more to mine. Yes, I can use it, but I can use it to clean what I have created. I won't have it create for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, right? Because that's where I live, right? I like the messiness, right? I like the creative process of struggling with something, right? I like to be able to, again, we're in Acts right now. I like to be able to read it and just like sit with it and wrestle with it and allow it to like make me have to think about it, right? Even before I even like jump into a commentary or what other pastors or leaders have said about it, it's like, man, but the Spirit of God is so real. Like He inspired this thing. Yeah. Why can't He inspire me to really understand it before I start to, again, I'm not saying we can't go to those things. What I'm saying is we're not taking enough time to hear directly from God, right? And also wrestle with something to say, man, how did I get here? Is because I wrestle with it, right? And there's, again, it's way more personal to me when I'm preaching something because I'm like, man, I've wrestled with this all week long, right? If you're getting convicted, I've been convicted all week because I've been wrestling with this thing, right? It's been in me, right? Man, I love those messages so much better because, again, I think I've told you guys this as pastors. It's like, I want my message to feel messy because I'm messy and we're all messy. I don't want you to think I'm coming up here, I'm polished, you know what I mean? I have it all, I'm very articulate and all that. Be honest with you, it doesn't register for me if I hear something like that. It just sounds like, oh, that's a beautiful speech. But I can always tell when a preacher's wrestling with something, right? And I don't know about you, but sometimes for me, it hits me in the moment. In the moment, as I'm preaching, something that I'm wrestling with clicks, and all of a sudden I go, man, that's good. People don't realize that I'm preaching to myself in that moment. And that could go all the way if you almost like become robotic, and you just go to something and say, create me a message or create a template. But you didn't wrestle with it. So interesting that I'm hearing people even having conversations about prayer with ChatGPT, right? And I get it because some people, this is may be new to them. They don't understand. But like someone said this to me the other day that they were going through something and they asked ChatGPT to write them a prayer. Right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool because that's where you are in your journey. But man, when I read the prayers in the Bible, I see a wrestling. Like I see like this like real personal thing that you won't get if someone else did that for you.
Absolutely.
Now I believe in written out prayers because again, they're in the Bible. But man, there's something about you like trying to make sense of this, whatever it is, the tension, the struggle, this battle that you're having, you and the Holy Spirit, or maybe you and a couple of friends, you know what I mean? Like James says, confess your sins to one another. It's like, man, there's something beautiful and powerful about the flesh and blood, and also about the struggle to get somewhere. Right. That if we take that all away, I think we're going to miss out on a lot when it comes to this journey called life.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely, because it's a spirit to spirit thing,
Yes.
especially with preaching or
Absolutely.
even in community. It's spirit to spirit.
And that's my hope, right? In all of this, right? That my hope is this. And I can sense it too. And this is the positive side, is that things are becoming so superficial and artificial. People are craving real, right? I think our church was seeing that, right? Like, it makes no sense for us to see this amount of people keep coming back to church in New England, in New Bedford, unless there's something that's driving them here, right? I always think about that. Like, I don't take that lightly when I think about this. On a Sunday morning, someone took time, got out of their house in the cold, get in their car, fight to get a parking spot, because right now our parking, we're having issues with parking. People have got mad because we're like, you got to park over there, you got to walk to church, but they're still doing it. Why? There's something powerful about the human encounter with the divine, right? We're all in the same room, we're singing the same song, we're listening to the same message. There's something that, to me, AI cannot replace. Right. And I think the more you do that, the more you're gonna crave something real, right? So that to me is the hope in all of this. It's like, look, you can only do that for so long, because again, it's artificial. It's not real, right? You want something real. It's almost like, again, we go back to dieting, right? It's like, man, that sugar is jacking you up. There's something powerful when you detox, right? And you're like, whoa, where was I been?
And apples never tasted this good before, you know?
Listen, apples and grapes have become like my favorite snacks. Because it's so good, right? And that's my hope in all of this. It's like, no, I think there's going to be this turnaround. And we're seeing it, I think. You know what I mean? People are getting tired of all that and saying, like, I want something real.
Right,
you know?
right. In fact, it reminds me of the movie The Matrix, where Neo and his group want to unplug from the Matrix, but there's this one guy. He's like, no, I want to get plugged back into the Matrix. Which is insane.
And okay, now we're gonna go deep here because I love that movie.
Such a good movie.
That guy to me is again, there's so much spiritual to me in that movie. But like, he's the Judas in the whole story.
Sheesh.
Right? He's the one that sells out the whole thing. Because he's like, no, I'd rather be back plugged in. Because I don't know where this thing is all going. He's the one and all this stuff. Think about that. That's Judas in a sense, saying like, look, I don't know where this is going. I'd rather just stay here. But that's always the tension of humanity, right? Whenever there's progress, whenever there's a revolution, some people like status quo. You know what I mean? And those people, unfortunately, like you said, some are indifferent, right, to all of this stuff. And to me, the saddest part about the whole thing is the people that don't ask questions. They just kind of go.
They just go with the flow.
You know what I mean? It's like, man, you're worse off than being the guy who was like, yo, I don't want any phone. I don't want anything. You know what I mean? At least you're wrestling with something as opposed to just, whatever. You know what I mean? I think the picture that comes to mind is the cattle, is the frog in the kettle. Like that, he's just there. He's just sitting there. The whole thing is getting hotter and hotter. And you're just like, not that serious. Not a big of a deal. So I pray that people wrestle with this. I pray that people feel some type of discomfort in all of this. And prayerfully, that makes you want to drive deeper into your faith to say like, okay, what is it that I'm missing that this thing is filling a void that only my creator is supposed to fulfill and only real community is supposed to fulfill, you know?
Absolutely. I wrote this. AI was created by human genius, which, as you said, was God made us in his likeness with intelligence, with genius. AI was created by human genius who are now trying to be godlike by creating something that will, in essence, become godlike. And this reminded me of Jurassic Park, which I framed here, Jurassic Park syndrome. And the quote goes, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not we could that they didn't stop to ask if we should."
Wow, so good. Well, that brings me to, I think AI to me is another version of the Tower of Babel.
Come on.
It's the digital version of that, right? Where it's just like, hey, let's get together and let's create this entity that, quote unquote, is going to make life so much better. But no one's asking the question, wait, don't we have that already? Like, don't we? So I heard John Lennox say something. I love John Lennox. He's one of my favorite when it comes to apologetics. But he's like, look, we're so preoccupied with some of that. One of the things AI is going to do is that AI is going to prolong life, right? And it's going to extend mortality and all of that.
That's insane.
But I love the way he's responsive. John Lennox is brilliant, and he's British.
Yeah.
So that British accent makes him way more holy and smarter than all of us. But he's like, you guys are too late. He said, that's already been done. Jesus already did that.
Yeah.
He said Jesus has regenerated life by giving his life.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you guys are like 2,000 years late when it comes to that.
You're just born.
Right? Yeah. He's like, Jesus is the first harvest. He's already resurrected.
Yeah.
Like there is eternal life. You're not gonna get something else, right? What you're gonna get is an artificial understanding of the real thing.
Right.
It's the Fugazi version. Right. It's the
Absolutely.
bootlegger version.
Absolutely.
It's the Jordan from Payless.
Come on now. The shackles.
You know what I mean? But it sounds so brilliant, so shiny, because we like shiny things. Like we like things that sounds like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the thing. It's like we all been sucker for the latest thing. That's something. Again, we're going back to our diet. It's like, oh, this thing is going to do it. You know what I mean? And then you do the thing, and then you're back like you
placebo.
You put more weight on later on. You know what I mean? But I think that's the tension. Again, humans, we're looking for a shortcut.
We are.
Right? But it's a dead end street without the God that created us in the first place. Right? And God, in a way, says, look. Again, this is the scary thing. In Romans, it says, hey, I'll take my hands off and see how far you can get. Man. And every time he does that, we don't do well, man. Right. Like I said, with every progress, it's almost like we regress because we go back to our primal state, right? We become more violent, more angry, which we're seeing, more isolated. Right. You know what I mean? And we don't realize, wow, look, the main ingredient is that you're doing it in an artificial way. Yeah. You're not doing it in a God way.
Come on.
You know?
Come on. And why would you want to extend life on this side of eternity? Like you said, this is the Fugazi. This is not the best version to come. Yeah.
Because it's I think the biggest lie is this, like we can create utopia on earth. Yeah. That's always the thing, right? Yeah. We're always believing that the next thing is going to create like no more sickness, no more pain, no more dying. And it's like, good luck with that. Because every time we've tried, we made it worse. Like communism. Like everybody says this is but it's like, you look at history, every time we've done that, we made it worse. By the way, this is a good thing, segue for the next part of Acts. It's like, look, they did a beautiful thing. They came together, they united in the spirit of Jesus, and they had everything in common. They sold things out of their own desire. No one forced them. This was not government saying you have to. It's like, no, here's what happens when the Spirit of God's in the mix. You have radical generosity. You care about others, right? You don't become isolated. We actually, you go into the community and you want to help people. Like one of the reasons why the Romans begin to pay attention to Christians, because they're like, man, they care about our own that we don't even care about. Like Romans sometimes would just, if they have a kid and it's not a boy, sometimes they would just let it die. They would just put it out in the wild to die. And Christians will go and pick up these kids and adopt them like their own. And they start to be like, yo, what is it with these people? Like, why are they so generous? And why do they care? Or like, they wouldn't bury people. Christians will go and take dead bodies and give them a proper burial because they believe everybody's created in the image and likeness of God. Right. So again, utopia is man trying to do the things that only God can do for us, and thinking that we're gonna have the final say. And that's what the danger is. Again, when we don't ask the question why we're doing this stuff and what's gonna be the end result without our Creator, it always leads to chaos.
Facts.
You know?
Absolutely.
And who is the agent of chaos? I don't know.
The one who brings confusion, I guess.
It's funny, same old voice.
Yeah, I just watched the video of Elon Musk, and he was like, it's not good to, or what did he say? It's not smart anymore to save for retirement, because with AI and how it's going to blow up, they're going to take care of all the tasks for us that we're going to live on a universal income. Yeah. I'm like, you're taking someone's God-given right to work. Yeah.
Like, so that, again, another interesting thing, because I've always been like wary of trying to interpret Revelation. But I'm like, man, when he says that, Revelation makes so much sense. Like one world currency, one world government, but you can't buy or sell, unless you have this sign. And it's like, look, we've done that already. And I guess we're doing it again. They say this, that in the Roman Empire, that's what happened after a while, that the emperor was forcing people to pay tribute, right? And if you didn't go pay tribute, you couldn't buy or sell, right? And so Christians were being left out because they're like, look, we're not going to worship anyone but God. People don't realize this. When the early Christians say Jesus is Lord, it was a political statement to say, no, we only have one God and one Lord. And the Romans took offense to that, to say, no, Caesar is Lord.
Yeah.
Christians were like, no, Jesus is Lord.
Yeah.
Right? But they're like, no, you got to pay tribute to Caesar. They're like, no, we can't bow our knees to a human who claims to be God. Right? And they couldn't buy or sell. And so there was persecution happening. So it's like, here we are. Here's the digital modern version of that reality coming. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, if you don't buy into this one world system, you might be left out. Right? And the reality is, every time we have tried to do this, it has never worked. Because at the end of the day is, you're going to have to use violence. You're going to have to be forced to make people buy into a system that they don't feel that they should be a part of. And those who don't feel they should be a part of are going to be left out. Right. You know? And that's what, again, tribulation and all those things come. So again, they mean well, but again, you can't get there without your creator. Right. You know?
Right. I wrote it here too. Paul says it in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23. I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. AI is man's idolatrous nature to want to be godlike, that we created, but end up worshiping it.
Yeah. And I would say this, I think what I'm seeing that, again, discernment and wisdom needs to prevail is it's idolatry in the form of distraction. Right? I think
so good.
Well, I think one of the greatest threat to us right now is distractions. Right? The enemy is so good, right? I remember there was an old theologian who had said there's 5 Ds of Satan, right? And it's that he comes to discourage, right? He comes to distract, he comes to delay, right? And he comes to, I'm trying to remember all of them. What's the other 2? It'll come to mind. But the main one for me right now is distraction, right? Think about it, like we're distracted all the time.
Sure.
Early on, we were talking about the fact that we can't think straight, right? Why? Because we've been overloaded with information, overloaded with stimulation, overloaded with entertainment, right? If we're not on Netflix, we're on Instagram. If we're not on Instagram, we're on Twitter. If we're not on Twitter, we're on both. You know what I mean? At the same time. So I think, if anything, what I'm seeing is, man, he's so good at distracting you from the main thing, right? Which is your creator, which is your relationship with God. Like I said, what is God's love language? Quality time. Right. Like it's like, I've been convicted by this. It's like my kids saying to me, Dad, no phone right now. As we are trying to do something, right? And that conviction, man, zings right through you. That I'm like, man, I'm being convicted by my own kids. And if a knucklehead is going through that, how much more the father's like, man, you guys are not seeing this, right? You're being distracted, right? You're being distracted with all of this technology advancement, not realizing, look what it's doing to your soul. Like if we all stopped and consider a week of our lives and say, man, what have I accomplished this week? Who am I becoming this week? And then this month, and then 6 months, in a year? I think that's the ultimate question we should be asking in this moment. Because again, here's the other thing that I think the enemy is so good. We actually think sometimes, because I know I've done this. It's like, but I'm learning, but it's like, am I really? Am I really learning? Right. Or even that has become a distraction from actually sitting down and actually getting with the word, wrestling with it, right? Not just what someone else said about it. You know what I mean? Even like, I love it that we're doing this, but even this could become another distraction. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do the work of sitting and really wrestling with God. You know what I mean? In real time. So I find that distraction is, diversion is another one. The 5 Ds, right? I think I'm missing one more. I got to get to that. It's going to drive me nuts. You know, what's the other one, man? It's diversion, delay, distraction. Oh man, it's gonna mess me up. You know, if you know it, leave it in the comment.
Please do.
You know,
please do.
But distraction to me is the main one that I think we're not understanding, right? Because it's so subtle, right? You just, you're tired. I'm tired. I'm just going to scroll for a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm tired. I'm going to mess around with ChatGPT for a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's like how much of that is consuming your thought process, and then you come to church, you can't focus. Right. You go to crew, you can't focus. Right, because your mind is overloaded. And I think, man, he's done a great job of doing that. And think about this again. This just hit me. It goes back to the beginning, right? When he said, God is trying to keep you from being like him, right? And if you just have this, you will be like him. And what is it? The knowledge of good and evil, right? It's more knowledge, right? Solomon, in his reflection in Ecclesiastes, says, look, here's what I found, right? And this is really interesting. Again, the Bible blows my mind how, like, there's nothing new under the sun. We say this all the time, right? If I can find the book of Ecclesiastes, he said something really powerful about his, like, reflecting over life, right? And coming to the end. Again, I love Ecclesiastes because this is a guy reflecting over his journey, now older, right? And it's interesting how he concludes it this way. He says, but my child, let me give you some further advice. Be careful, for writing books is endless, and much study wears you out, right? But that's the whole story. Here's now my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad, right? But what's fascinating to me is, like, look, be careful, for writing books is endless and much study wears you out, right? Which right now, that is the buzzword of the day, right? Like, I get one more podcast and one more thing and one more thing, one more thing and one more thing, one more thing. But it's like, what are we doing with all that? Right. Who are we becoming? I think that's the question I would love for people to wrestle with. Who are we becoming in this, like, vast, array of information that we're receiving every single day? Are we deeper? Are we thinking better?
Right.
Are we better humans? You know what I mean? Like, am I a better father, better husband?
That's good.
Am I, like, truly serving God? Am I serving others? Am I present? That's another one, man. Am I fully present? These are the questions we need to be asking. You know what I mean? That I think gets lost in translation because we're just distracted.
Right. And it doesn't make me more like Christ. Because, again, you can say I'm learning a lot on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, especially with shorts. I'm reading a book called We're Scrolling Ourselves to Death. And in that book, it says it takes 3 to 5 minutes to actually learn something. So by the time you're trying to learn something, you've already moved on to the next video. So you're not learning anything at all. You're not.
And you're short-circuiting real growth. Right. Because real growth is slow. And real growth needs time. Right. Real growth needs development. Right. Shorts don't develop you in any way, shape, or form. Right. And again, it's almost like taking little, like, the best way I can explain it, it's like, look, you keep inhaling a little sugar, right? And just thinking, like, it's just a little sugar. It's not that much. But it's like, look, you just keep doing this. And what are you doing to your body? What are you doing to your mind? Over time, it's not healthy at all. But again, it's so subtle, man. It's so like, hey, it's
a little bit here.
It's a little bit here. It's a little bit there, right? And next thing you know, you have become a shell version of yourself, thinking this was actually supposed to help you.
I think you've actually grown.
But
you haven't.
It's scary.
You know what I mean? Because you know a lot of things, but you're not doing a lot of things.
Doing anything. That's scary to think. I've done something because I listened to a podcast.
Crazy. I've accomplished the work they put in, but that's mine. Oh, man. Which I find fascinating because when I first downloaded TikTok, I don't have it anymore. When I first downloaded it, 2 hours had gone by. I'm like, what the heck just happened? Because you just get locked in. Next video. You're just like, that's only 15 seconds. But, like, you're there 100 videos later.
And time is your greatest currency, right?
Facts.
Time is your absolutely greatest currency, and we're just wasting it scrolling
which
away.
Adds to the name of the app, TikTok. Taking your time.
I remember hearing the guy who created it, the bottomless scrolling. Doomsday scrolling, they call it. And he's like, man, I'm going to be known in the history for being that guy. You know what I mean? And again, the goal was that, like, the goal is to keep you scrolling and mindless, right? Not realizing that your mind doesn't know what's right or wrong, right? Your mind just says, hey, this is what we're doing, right? And if you don't stop to create these group patterns in your mind, just say, we need to stop. And again, the power of wisdom and discipline to say, look, again, I'm not just going to throw the whole thing out and say it's all evil. But it's like, no, like, how are you redeeming your time?
Very good.
Right?
Very good. Because we are creating, you said it, creating an attachment. which you sent us a video about this with Jonathan Haidt. There was another lady in some other podcast.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Haidt, author of Anxious Generation, wrote this or said this: social media came and hacked our attention. Now AI has come and hacked our attachments.
Scary.
Yeah.
Well, it's scary to think that I've even heard, again, I don't even know how real this is, but like I saw this report that people are taking their AI on dates, you know, and having like intimate conversations with their AIs.
Yeah.
And it's not scary. It's sad.
Very sad.
That this is what we've come down to, right? Again, that complete detachment and disconnect from the real world, that we rather have a conversation with something artificial.
It's crazy.
Because that artificial thing, again, this is where we don't want to go, but it won't hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It won't let me down.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, I mean, you know, like true love's supposed to hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
Like true love's supposed to make you feel disappointed. Like if you and your wife never gets into a fight, I'm like, how serious is this thing?
Right.
How real is it?
How bought in are you?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you don't get on each other's nerves, right? How real is this thing? Right? If you can't like change a kid's diaper, how real are you to your kid? You know what I mean? Again, the messiness of all of it is what makes this thing so powerful and so real. And why would a God become incarnate? Right? Because he wants to embody the reality of the mess of life and shows us how to actually live. He like could have just done the artificial thing. Yeah, right. Could have just told us, hey, I love you. You know what I mean? I told you through ChatGPT. It's like, no, I demonstrate my love, right? Like there's no more powerful thing than to lay down your life for someone that you love. And will this thing do that for you? You know what I mean? It will tell you what you want to hear, which, by the way, it will only tell you what you want to hear.
Absolutely.
Which is scary.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You're so beautiful.
Yeah.
You're 300 pounds overweight, my friend.
Like, no, that's just, you know, your body representing itself.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of what, again, if anything, it's just giving me more language to the Bible and make it more real. When Paul says, like, we're going to come to a time where we would have itchy ears. Right. Well, here we are, right? Like, yes, just tell me what I want to hear, right? It's another thing, right, that all of the social media has created, which it would be a great podcast, right, to do. We all have become disciples of our own algorithm.
It's so true.
Right?
Scary.
It's like we have our own echo chamber, right? It's like, here's the things that I like to hear.
It's my side,
right? It's my side, right? It's my cul-de-sac, right? We have our own, right? It's scary to think about, but it's not new, to be honest, because Paul dealt with that in, again, Corinth, the immature church, who says, hey, I like Peter. No, I like Apollos. No, I like Paul. Paul was like, what are you guys doing? Like, we all belong to Jesus, right? And we're just expressions of him. But that's algorithm, right? So I like the Paul algorithm. I like the Peter algorithm. I like the Apollos algorithm, right? Not realizing we're creating these echo chambers and we're robbing ourselves of the bigger picture, right? Because if all we do is agree with each other all day long, then you don't know where your blind spots are. Right. You don't know what you want to work on, right? You go out with someone who just tells you what you want to hear. Guess what? That's not growth. Absolutely. You're never going to grow that way. Absolutely. You know, it's scary. It's sad. It saddens me, to be honest with you, because it goes back to the garden. You know, it's not good for humanity to be alone. So let's create artificial ways to connect.
Well, let me break it down real quick. So here's the groundwork of where AI started. And I didn't know this. In 1921, a man named by Karel Capek, he was I think Dutch, released a science fiction play, Rossum's Universal Robots, which introduced the idea of artificial people, first known time to use of the word. So in 1921, that was the seed. So, which I find fascinating because the future belongs to the dreamers and the creatives, because he created it. And then in 1929, a professor, Makoto Nishimura, I can't even say that, builds first robot. And then in 1949, scientist Edmund Callis published a book called Giant Brains or Machines That Think. And so from 1921 all the way to 2026 has been 90 years from conception to maturity. And here's where we are. In 2020, ChatGPT released, actually hit the public market. That's when it was released in 2020. So that's when COVID started. Seems pretty interesting at our loneliest times that chat would be released. And then in 2025, there were close to 2 million public models of AI. There are 6 different AI models, which is the LLMs, diffusion, SLMs, VLMs, and multimodal foundation models. You can go and Google that if you want to know what they are. And then here's what's scary. This year, 2026, the first AI model to have AI by humans to do work for it. And then I just read that the first robot girlfriend was available for purchase.
Hello.
A humanoid.
So Skynet was real.
It's real.
All along.
All along.
It's almost like they were showing us the future in the 80s.
It's insane.
Let us know where this is going.
Yeah.
But giving you in the form of, movie.
Yeah.
So you can just like consume it.
Yeah. And we can get used to it.
And get used to it.
Yeah.
Which again, it doesn't surprise me, right? There's nothing new under the sun. And every advancement has been this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Again, could God's people, again, we're living in I think others have quoted this digital Babylon, that we're in. And can we be the Daniels of this generation to be able to discern our way through it, be prophetic about it and point people to their creator in the middle of all this stuff. And not just throw the whole thing out, but it's like, look, how do we redeem what could be redeemed? Right. But also how can we call out what needs to be called out? You know what I mean? And reject what needs to be rejected. You know what I mean? Because again, it's not one size fits all. But again, it doesn't surprise me. Again, it's humans trying to do what? To indirectly replace God. Right. That's what it is. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're trying to replace God. And, it's every generation has battled this, right? Not long ago, we had the new atheist movement. Yeah. And they were like, this is it. Yeah. Like, we cracked the code. God's dead. Yeah. And now that we have a spiritual revolution going on. Because, again, you can't squash the deeper thing that is happening in the human soul. Very good. You know what I mean? Like, the human soul craves and longs for its creator. It longs for his God. That's why since the fall, like, we've always longed for something real, right? And it keeps happening in every single generation. We just pray that this next generation can see us sooner than later.
Absolutely. Here's one thing that did scare me, and I think it does need to be called out, and you hit on it too. The Institute for Family Studies surveyed young adults, or even adults across all ages, that 1 in 5 U.S. adults, which is 19 to 28%, have had or are in a romantic relationship with the AI chatbot, which is crazy enough that it leans more to the young adult men being 1 in 3, which is 33%. Yeah, that are having a relationship.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the issues. It's always been, right, the fatherless generation, and this to me is just another ramification of that reality, right? Because the fatherless generation created these guys who, first of all, don't know how to relate to themselves. Don't know how to relate to God. Don't know how to the females. Yeah, right. So it makes sense that this would be the next thing that happens, right? And as a church, man, we need to really be on the cusp of this, right? Because we have to remember that a lot of these guys, if you ask them, who's your role model? Do they have a flesh and blood person in their lives? They can say, man, this dude is like the epitome of what it means to be a dude, right? We saw the old Andrew Tate thing happen, and that's another one. Look, rise and then dip really quick. Again, another replacement, right? It's almost like we keep trying to replace God with these different things. Right. No wonder now they're going into this reality, which is a sad reality that I've heard about. I think, again, I can only speak for it from a church standpoint, that our job is to continue to disciple people in every aspect of the word, which is, you are a human being, right? Created in the image and likeness of God. You're created for real relationship, right? But if you're not understanding that first between you and him, you're going to have a hard time understanding how to relate to others. It's true. Think about it, right? Good. When God created Adam, he didn't create Eve right away. It's almost like he wanted time to say, look, you and I need to be on the same page, right? Then eventually, historians believe, again, this is debated, but that he was alone in that garden for probably 100 years before God created Eve. It's almost like God started to see, like, okay, this dude's kind of losing it on his own. He's speaking to animals, and he says it's not good for him to be alone. Right. But I think there's something to be said about, like, the horizontal first, then the vertical. Absolutely. Right. And if this is not right, this is not going to be right. So this is what we're seeing, right? People are not right with their creator. So it's like, why would I go try to engage another person where I myself, I'm not even okay with myself. So I'd rather just create something that would appease me and give me what I think I want, but without the mess of actually engaging, right? It's like, man, we got to teach a young man to even approach a woman. Right. That's a whole nother podcast. It's like just having a conversation with another human being, right? Which nowadays it's like, no, they like you
DM you.
Yeah, like you in their vicinity, but you won't talk to them. Yeah. But you're gonna go home and send a DM. It's sad, but that's the world we've created. But I think as a church, we owe it to those at least that God is trusting us with, to do our best to disciple them in this reality, because that's a sad reality, man.
Facts. And there's a fulfillment that comes with going against the grain of society, and actually doing. I was talking to a young guy, and I was like, bro, you got to do it different than you've done before. If you like this girl, you go up to her, you look her in the eye, say, hey, I'm glad I saw you today. You want to go get some coffee? Yeah. He's like, why? I can't just text her? I'm like, no. You cannot text her. No. Because you're showing your intentions right out the gate. Like, I'm a man. I'm going to stand right in front of you.
Absolutely. And there's something, again, like in you that comes to life, right? Like I'm telling my kids, like, embrace butterflies, right? Embrace nervousness.
That's good.
Because I think that makes you come alive, right? Whether it's like before a basketball, because I coach my boys and it's like some games, you can tell they're nervous. And it's like, man, embrace that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I tell them, till this day, I still get some of that when I'm getting ready to preach. And I love it because it tells me I'm alive. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Right. It tells me like I haven't become a robot. Yeah. That I'm just kind of going through the motion. Good. So it's like, man, again, that's a whole nother podcast. But it's like, man, embrace like that adventure of like, this could, she could say no. Yeah. But man, I won't know if I don't shoot my shot. Right. You know what I mean? And that means like I'm alive, man. Like I saw a girl. Yeah. I approached her. Yeah. Like embrace that. That's the adventure of life. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's like, again, from that to like going for a job interview. I don't know if I'm gonna get this, but man, like I'm alive right now. I feel it. Like or trying to start a business. You know what I mean? Or starting a ministry. Right. Right. To me, it's like, man, you can't get that from artificial. Come on, right? Right. Like imagine you're talking to someone who's always telling you, yes, you're right. Yes, you're handsome. Yes, you're this. Yes. But it's after a while, I think you're gonna crave pushback. Facts. You know what I mean? Facts. After a while, you're gonna crave someone to be like, listen, dude. Yeah. Life doesn't work that way. Like I tell my kids all the time, life's not fair. Like so, you can throw that out. You know what I mean? Life is not fair. Absolutely. But life is exciting when you're taking chances, when you're taking risks, right? Because something dies in you. That's a whole other thing. Like something dies in you when you're not being challenged, right? There's nothing like for you to look forward to, you know, where again, it's everything is in the palm of your hands. Right. I actually think that's a boring way to live life. Right. You know what I mean? It's sad.
Absolutely. Because it'll keep you mediocre. You need that pushback. Like
you need to. Again, it's like, I don't know how you feel, but I'm like, I need tension once in a while. You know what I mean? I need tension. It's almost like this is going to be a leadership nugget, but like even in the church, sometimes I need to find a way to create tension just so we don't become stagnant. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like all the stuff that we're going through, the changes, the building, all of that to me is good because there's tension in the air. Yeah. Where I get emails about park, I'm like, there's tension in the air. It's good. Yeah, we got tension. Yeah. It's bad when we don't have any tension.
It's too good.
It's too good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Man. All right. So I'll give you two questions. We're not going to be able to hit the last topic we wanted to because of time. If Jesus were here, how would he respond to AI?
I think about Jesus. Again, I'm fascinated by Jesus. But I think about how he approached everything else when he was here. Like there were so many things they wanted him to do that he's like, I'm not touching that. Yeah. Because he had a mission. He was focused, right? And again, I think it's that whole like, what can be redeemed? What needs to be called out? What needs to be rejected? Yeah. You know, I think about, for example, when he goes to the temple and they try to, you know, trap him with giving to Rome, right? And he's like, look, give me a coin. What's there? Oh, so yeah, then give to Caesar what Caesar, give to God what's God's. That's wisdom. Yeah, facts. You know what I mean? Facts. It's like, listen, your guys are trying to like pin me, but it's like, I'm too smart for that, right? In other words, he uses a coin, which I love because a coin, right? There's two sides, but it's the same coin, right? There's two sides to every story. So to me, it's that wisdom and discernment, right? Where it's just like, look, if I'm a Christian, that means I have Jesus in me. I have the Spirit of God in me. So I should be asking the Spirit of God to give me wisdom and discernment to approach what's in front of me. I live in this time. I don't live in the first century. That's another thing with Acts. I'm trying to do. It's like, okay, that was first century, but how does that translate to today? And I think it's the good old question again, WWJD. What would Jesus do? You know what I mean? Again, if I'm the embodiment of his person because I have his spirit, then it's like I'm constantly asking that question. Like I said, like I use technology, I use ChatGPT, but I'm constantly living in that tension of like, hey, am I replacing the spirit here? Am I going too far, right? Am I allowing it to think for myself where I should be doing that, right? And am I replacing the tensions? Am I replacing the the discipleship, right? And the struggle, but also the discipline, right? These are the questions I think believers, serious, have to think about this stuff, right? We can't just, again, not ask questions and just go with the flow. Right. But I think tension is healthy. Right. We need tension, right? We're not supposed to just have things just handed to us and things just falling on our lap, right? It's the wrestling and continuously discerning our way through all of it, to me, is how I think Jesus would want us to live.
Let me ask you this. How do we raise kids in a world of AI?
To me, kids, we must protect them. Like, I'm a parent, so I take this very, very serious. And watching that podcast with the author of Ancient Generation really confirmed a lot of things for me. That I didn't have the language for it, but I can discern my way to say, I'm not having my kids open certain doors. Right. You know what I mean? So I have 5 kids, 3 teenagers. None of them have social media, right? And we've talked openly about this stuff. But I had to lead by example. And I said, listen, I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not doing myself. So I'm not going to have social media. Your mom's not going to have social media, right? Because we're trying to teach you something, right? That you're better off limiting yourself because your mind cannot handle all of this. Right. And then I have an honest conversation. Like, look, tell me if you see a difference between you and your friends when it comes to your social abilities, your spiritual abilities. Yeah. Why? Because you're more connected, right? And again, every parent has to decide that for themselves. Right. But I think we should protect our children from the Pandora's box, right? And do our best to model that for them. So we have things like limit technology in the house, right? Where if they play a video game, they have 30 minutes. And it's only on the weekends. Like, they can't do that during school because it's like, look, your focus is to be a student, right? And you're going to do homework. Yes, you can watch a show, but usually it's like 30 minutes. And we don't let them go on YouTube because, you know, you can open up. So even YouTube kids, we found that like things could get, if we're watching a show, like I got rid of Disney Plus because I felt like, you know, Disney is really pushing their own agenda. You know, there are shows that we call it out. We're like, that's weird. And we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? So I think with kids, it's very different. Their minds are still developing. I think we should be very, very careful to not open certain doors. And to me, it's irresponsible to let kids, here, take the phone and just do whatever you want to do with no supervision. We don't let our teenagers sleep with the phone in their room. They turn in their phone every night. Again, but these are conversations, constant, ongoing, because obviously sometimes they may feel like, oh, but my friends, but it's like, no, we'll talk about all this stuff. Like, my prayer as a parent is like, look, there's nothing we can't talk about, right? Let's have the kind of relationship where everything is open, right? And we're having all these conversations. Like, I literally send them, my teenagers, that podcast. Because I'm like, guys, I want you to see, here's why this has put language to a lot of things I've tried to teach you guys. Because I'm trying to protect you. Absolutely. My job as a parent is to set you up to be your best version of yourself. And I know you're going to have your own challenges. You're going to have your own things going on. But my prayer is that I've set you up the best way possible, that you have less regrets down the line. You know, I think with kids, we need to be very proactive about protecting them, because it's like you don't bring cocaine home and tell the kids, be careful with it.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
And that's what that is for their brain. You know what I mean? They can't stop. You know, you asking them to stop. You ever notice your little ones, sometimes they'll even watch a show and all of a sudden you look at them, it's like their eyes are glazed over. It's like, yo, what just happened to you?
Where'd you go?
Where'd you go? You know what I mean?
So
we have to, man, listen, I feel very strongly about that, that we as parents, we have that job to protect our kids.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
That's good. That's good for me to hear too, because we started off with the YouTube kids and now we're like, I see the difference. We're slowly taking it away. Trying to figure out those guardrails and barriers.
Constantly. And again, it's ongoing. Nothing has taught me more about discipleship than raising kids. Because it's ongoing. It's every day. What's the most thing you say in a house that has small kids? No.
Stop it.
Like, stop. So the Bible to me has come to life on a whole other level, being a parent. Because again, here's a Heavenly Father, like trying to parent us.
No, fact.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if you ever been like, again, convicted when you're parenting your kids and your father in going like, that's you, knucklehead. You know what I mean? So
almost every day. Oh man. So I came up with 3 principles, and I would love to push back on these. about AI. This is something I've been trying to work even with myself, because I do love technology and I do love where it's going, but it is also kind of scary how fast it's going.
Yeah.
The first principle I came up with: AI is a tool. It serves me, not me it. 2, learning slow by reading the Bible and books, conversations with others, or deep thought is better than instant answers from AI. This one's hard for me. Things learn fast, fade quick. Things learn slow, stay long.
So good.
And then the third one: I am shaped by what I give my trust to. My relationship with God is first, and all my needs, answers, and guidance come from Him alone.
Yeah. If you think about it, I think that's very good, because it goes back again to Genesis. I think at the end of the day, if we were to interview Adam and Eve, what was the main concern? Is that they stopped trusting God. They trusted the other voice.
Right.
Here's the God who provided everything. But somewhere down the line, again, we don't know when or how, it became about trust. Right? This other voice says, I think he's holding out on you.
Yeah.
It's no different. You know what I mean? I think it's no different. When we stop going to God first, we stop trusting Him.
Right.
Because faith and trust are the same word. Right?
Right.
And God told us in Hebrews that it's impossible to please Him without faith, without trusting Him.
Right.
Because He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. So I think you're dead on, right? And I think every believer has to wrestle with this to say, like, what is my theology when it comes to AI?
Absolutely.
What is, for me, it was way back when I got saved was what's going to be my technology of entertainment, you know? And I had this early on conviction, right? If I watch a movie and that movie was 2 hours, it's like, I need to go spend 2 hours in the Word because I just spent 2 hours on this thing.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? So that to me, it's like, okay, what's going to be your like ongoing spiritual formation?
Yeah.
Because something is forming you. Here's the thing: there's nothing neutral.
Right.
We're either being formed in the image and likeness of Christ, or being deformed.
Right.
Right. And again, I think distraction has become the word of the day because it's just subtle, right?
Yeah.
But you got to stop, man. We have to stop and ask the question: who am I becoming? And are these tools making me into a better human, or am I becoming sucked into the matrix?
Right.
You know, becoming part of the problem,
Right.
and not even realizing it. You know, and that's the sad part for me. It's just like we're just going with the flow. I think that's excellent. I think every believer
come
needs
up with
to
their principles.
They need to. You have to live in this world. You have to have principles.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: I always say to my kids, it's like, who are you when no one's watching you? Like, that's the real you.
Yeah.
Right. I can tell you all these things all day long, but how you implementing these things in your own tells me, like, are you really taking ownership of these things, or you're just going through? Well, you're just going through the motions of hearing something, but you're not really applying it. It goes back to the beginning, right? And it goes back to, again, that action step that comes with every message. It's like, okay, I need to bridge the gap, right? And that's ongoing. I feel the same way about AI. Like, I think it's a good tool.
Right.
I'm using it. So I told you, like, I like to prepare my messages because I like that wrestling.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I don't mind. Like, there's a thing called pulpit AI, right? Which is like, it's like, okay, you have your notes, right? I already preached, right? So I'm not, because I don't want, again, for you to give me what I didn't wrestle with, right?
Right.
But afterwards, I can put that through pulpit AI. It actually can break down my messages into smaller chunks.
That's so cool.
Where I can, like, say, okay, I can share that with the church because that's my thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I just put it through a filter
Right.
to help it distill it. That's very different for me than, like, just tell me what to preach on Acts 2. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, I'd rather wrestle with that. Then I can give you this because you're now become my tool.
Right.
Like, you're not using me, I'm using you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Very good. Well, this was awesome. We didn't have time to hit the Epstein files. Hopefully we can hit it sometime. Just know there's nothing new under the sun. What he did has been done.
Yeah. I'll just say something real quick about that.
Please do.
Listen, evil gets exposed, right? And evil is getting exposed at the highest level of our world, right? Which is not new again. Like, principalities of darkness have ruled the world forever. People are pawns, right? Again, our goal as believers is to be what? Hopefully you could be a vessel that's useful, or you could be a pawn of the enemy, right? The scary thing for me out of all this, again, distractions, is Jesus says something really heavy. He says, listen, if you make one of these little ones to stumble, you might as well hang a millstone around your neck. To me, that's the part that's most disturbing. It's kids that are being hurt through this whole thing, right?
Sick.
That it's very sick, man. It's like you're robbing of their innocence, and God will keep you accountable for that, right? Now, we need to be careful again that we don't get sucked into the whole like conspiracy theories narrative.
Right.
There's actually a really good scripture. I know we don't have time, but like I really would like to share this because I think believers need to hear this, because I know I needed to hear this. This came, again, God's word is so good. This came in a season where I was like, man, I was getting consumed with conspiracy theories. I really was. I was
Alex Jones.
I was all in on Alex Jones, Candace Owens, and all these different people. And God really convicted me, and I've really like, again, took ownership and was like, I got to scale back. But this, again, God's word fascinates me. Isaiah, the prophet, writes this 700 years before Jesus even comes to earth. And it blew my mind to read this, and it helped me a lot. Look, Isaiah chapter 8, verse 11. The Lord has given me a strong warning not to think like everyone else does. He said, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do. And don't live in dread of what frightens them. Make the Lord of heaven's armies holy in your life.
Wow. He
is the one you should fear. He is the one who should make you tremble. He will keep you safe.
Wow.
That's what has grounded me, right? Because it's like you can go all over the place with these conspiracies, man. Like you can lose your mind over it. And again, I think it's another weapon of the enemy. It's almost like, let's replace the sovereignty of God with these conspiracies. So you can be afraid, be worried, look over your shoulder over every single thing. You know, I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's from God. Look, God will expose evil, but God will judge evil. But God is sovereign. He's in control. We have to be careful to not get so sucked into this stuff that fear becomes our baseline, where we're supposed to be trusting that we are in a journey. Yes, it's chaotic, it's crazy, but God is sovereign. He's in control. And that if he can expose Epstein, it's because he's doing deeper things that we don't even understand, right? And Epstein is just another pawn.
Right. Yeah. As Bugs Bunny would say, that's all, folks. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Pastor.
Absolutely. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Come on now.
Hey, if you made it to the end, we're so glad that you did. Grateful that you stayed all the way through. And I want to tell you one more thing. I know we talked about it in the episode about a podcast within a podcast, Too Much Podcast. There's one podcast I want to tell you about. It's Garage Nights Podcast. It is started by one of our leaders here at church, and it is for the dudes. It is for the men who want to be men of God. It will bless your life. Go on podcasts or Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. You will find Garage Nights Podcast. Go and listen to it. It'll bless your life. Peace out.